Here are my two restored 1967 Bridgestone SR175 factory production dirt bikes. These were a limited edition special item produced by the factory, as I say, about 1967 and maybe into 68. Produced for the American market. Bridgestone, I'm sure with the help of Rockford Motors input, produced these dirt track racers using a lot of off-the-shelf parts which they modified. I have no idea how many of these they made. Must have been in the hundreds at least, because all dealers were offered the option of buying them and selling them. This bike here is a slightly modified, although totally restored. It's one I took a few liberties with, and you can readily see them. One is the little muffler cans, stingers I put on the ends of the expansion chambers to quiet it down a little bit. Another slight modification was the incorporation of some A1 Kawasaki 250 twin carburetors, which are exactly the same carburetors as an SR, except that they had choke circuits, which the SRs did not. So you can see I have added a choke cable and a lever. It makes starting a lot easier. And I have used this bike, ridden it around up at Willow Springs in the pits. It's kind of a pit bike. It's a lot of fun, lightweight, little responsive little bike. And the motors were not tuned so hard that you couldn't putt around on them a little bit. The standard Bridgestone 175 made, I believe, 20 horsepower, and the SRs were tuned to 28 horsepower. Some of the special items, non-production items, were the front and rear fenders. The battery box was a little different on the frame because they were a constant loss ignition. The thing you see right there behind the cylinders is on a standard bike a generator, but on the SRs it's just strictly a distributor that holds the points. There's nothing inside the generator housing except a shaft to drive the points on the other end. So the constant loss ignition was just battery, points, and coils. They use bigger carburetors, of course, on the SRs. The carburetor is right under that housing there, which is a little bit different than the standard bike. You see the screened air inlet there, which the standard bike didn't have. They changed the rotary valves in order to get a little more, intake timing. And the cylinders were a little different. They were slightly smaller to give less than 175 cc's, and the standard bike was 176. On this bike, one of the other changes I made just for the heck of it was to use these tab lock sunburst racing heads, which I just happen to have, and I thought they looked kind of cool. The gas tank is from a Bridgestone Sport 60, a different model, and they just added a second petcock for the twin 175. The seat, of course, was one of the changes made to the bike, the nifty looking little banana seat. And of course the expansion chambers you see. The SRs had no electrical system other than the ignition. They had no instruments or lights or anything like that. In the next video we'll look at my standard restored SR175 just behind.